Gaming backlogs are kind of annoying, and realistically they will never ever go away. The constant feeling of wanting to clear up the backlog creates a lot of frustration because no matter who you are, you cannot resist a good game sale. Adding more games to that backlog. The only way we can truly blow off steam is by knocking the lights out of our backlog. A one-on-one ring match where you take on each game separately and beat the ever-loving crap out of them. This is exactly what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna be fighting my gaming backlog. I'll be identifying their strengths and weaknesses just before I knock them the fuck out. Now let's see what the first game's gonna be.
さあ、1年前からどんくらい強くなったか見せてくれや、はじめちゃん。いや、山ちゃんや。
Starting this off strong with another Yakuza game taken off my backlog. Oh wait, sorry, I mean Like a Dragon. I don't know why they changed the name, honestly. As of the writing of this, Like a Dragon Ishin is the final game in the RGG library that I needed to take out of my backlog. And all of this build-up, all of these amazing games, ended on a pretty good game. Yeah, Ishin is far from my favorite game in the series. I honestly kinda wish I finished off this journey with like Infinite Wealth or Lost Judgment instead. I mean, RGG have said they have a surprise announcement during the Tokyo Game Show, and I mean, this series is the Japanese equivalent to Call of Duty, so the games will never ever stop coming out. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Like a Dragon Ishin is good, but it's nothing special. It's not the worst RGG game I've played, and it's definitely not the best. If I were to place it in a ranking, I would put it above Yakuza 3, 4, and 5, maybe even 6 at a push, but it would definitely be below something like Kiwami 2, maybe even Kiwami 1. Ishin technically doesn't take place within the Yakuza universe. Instead, it's more of a spin-off styled game retelling a historical Japanese tale where figures within that story are replaced by established characters within the Yakuza universe, with Kiryu playing the role as the main character, Sakamoto Ryoma. I don't know if I said that right. It feels both weird and kinda cool seeing a lot of these familiar faces, but ultimately it just feels kind of off to me because, I mean, these aren't the same characters I've come to know and love, so I didn't feel all too invested in the story. It is a good story overall though, don't get me wrong, I just didn't feel the same heights that I felt in other RGG games. I'm also kinda burnt out with the whole feudal Japan setting. I never found it too interesting to begin with, so that didn't help all too much. Assassin's Creed Shadows is never ever gonna be in my library. I don't think I've seen a game more horrifically boring in my entire life. None of these gripes I have bring down Ishin though. It was a great time almost all the way through. The good shit you'd expect to find in a Yakuza game is here, even with its subtle homosexuality. For starters, the combat within Ishin is a lot of fun. It can feel a bit stiff at times due to the fact they didn't actually change all too much in the remake with the combat from what I can tell compared to the original. The only new thing they added were these trooper cards which let you do all kinds of things, like healing yourself, enhancing your damage numbers, and even casting a giant stream of fire from your hands. Yeah. I can't tell if this is a stupid mechanic or if it's amazing. It's really hard to put my finger on what I think about it. The only thing I truly hate is the fact there are ones for influencers. Influencers I've never heard of. Yes, I'm very bitter that I'm not on one of these cards. Then again, Sega have always been pretty shocking with choosing which influencers should promote their games. Do you guys remember when they paid XQC of all people to play Infinite Wealth? And he didn't even realize it was a turn-based game while playing?
Come on, do it. Come on, buddy.
Yeah, I remember that. I think everyone remembers that. It was a horrible idea. Just like with every other Yakuza game, Ishin also includes a huge amount of side content. They all completely range with what you can do. There is a lot of variety when it comes to them. You can do stuff like dancing in front of a crowd, going through a dungeon for crafting materials for your weaponry, and hell, they even have karaoke in the game. They somehow managed to shoehorn it in, and it's fucking awesome. Oh, and of course Bacpo Matai's in this game. Ishin is a good game, and if you're a huge fan of the Yakuza games like I am, I definitely recommend playing it at some point, although I wouldn't set it as a priority. Also, RGG, for the next remake, please do Dead Souls. That game deserves a second chance. Now, if you're expecting me to just rip into Starfield, you've come to the wrong video, because I'm not gonna be doing that. Even though it does deserve to be made fun of with some elements of the game. I went into Starfield with fairly low expectations. I had watched all of the videos shitting on it beforehand, so I was fully expecting something pretty terrible. Although there was a little thought in the back of my mind that I might end up enjoying it, because I personally really like Fallout 4 and everyone hates that game, so maybe Starfield might have been the same case. For brief moments while playing it, it definitely was. There were moments where I was having an absolute blast exploring giant cities and compounds on alien planets, killing and murdering everyone I see. But after about an hour or two, it hit me. People weren't lying when they said there was truly nothing to do in this game other than talk to NPCs and shoot spongy enemies. Its exploration is especially bad. Who thought that creating a space travel game with nothing to do with the space traveling was a good idea? In fact, traveling through space is so pointless. You spend most of the time opening up a menu to fast travel to another planet rather than going into the empty nothingness. You can't even land on planets naturally like you can in No Man's Sky. That's an indie game compared to Starfield. In fact, in Starfield, you have to fucking open up a menu to get close to the planet to begin with. You can't fly to it naturally. Then once you've loaded in on the planet's surface, you have to open up another menu just to land on it. It's baffling. Why did they do this? Oh, and yeah, there's literally nothing on these planets too. Okay, that's a lie. There's the occasional point of interest every now and then, but they're so spread out from each other that you spend most of your time just running across a barren wasteland like you're playing Fallout New Vegas. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist the comparison. The missions within Starfield are dull too. For every actual interesting mission where you're doing something like solving a mystery about where alien monsters called the Terramorphs are coming from, there are about 20 where you're just going back and forth between planets, opening up menus, talking to boring NPCs, which all amounts to absolutely nothing. None of the factions are interesting either. Fallout 4 didn't have any amazing ones, but I at least remember them. I could not name a single one from Starfield off the top of my head. In fact, the only two I can remember are like the Space Police and Evil Corporation in Cyberpunk City. Yeah, that's literally the only two that I can kind of remember. I can't even think of their names. All of this makes me sad because I was really hoping for an underrated game that I could personally enjoy and spend hundreds of hours exploring like I did with Fallout 4. But no, Starfield just isn't that.
Name's Goofy.
I'm Sora.
All for one, one for all.
Kingdom Hearts is one of the strangest AAA games ever conceived. Never in my entire life did I think that there would be a game with both Disney and Final Fantasy characters sharing the same universe. To be fair, the 2000s were a different time. I have a lot of nostalgia for it. Shit was easier back then. Kingdom Hearts is no exception. While playing through the game, I just felt pure nostalgia despite the fact I'd never played the game as a kid, which is kind of odd. I think it's just because the game feels exactly like one of those dreams you would have when you were younger after watching a film or playing a game where you're put into the world yourself, but because it's a dream, they don't feel quite right and feel kinda liminal and strange. Yes, this statement is just a way for me to plug my video about why I find the original Kingdom Hearts kind of unsettling, whilst at the same time finding it quite nostalgic. It's a strange feeling. I did enjoy my time with Kingdom Hearts. It is an incredibly unique game with its combat and its RPG elements. For starters, with the combat, you wield a thing called the Keyblade, and to attack with it, you press X/A on the controller, which at first is really strange because that's the universal jump button for most games, but you get used to it fairly quickly. You can also combine normal attacks with magic, which are named after the spells you can use within the Final Fantasy universe. Honestly, the combat can feel pretty stiff at times, especially with how inconsistent the camera can be jumping all around the place when you lock onto an enemy, but that's just a given for a first in a series. They were trying new things and they weren't entirely used to it. Also, it's from 2002, I can excuse it. Although I understand why it could put a lot of people off playing it, especially with how much of an upgrade Kingdom Hearts 2's combat is. Unlocking abilities and leveling up is weird in the game too. While you do get permanent upgrades to your stats like health, defense, and damage when leveling up, you you actually have to equip certain skills with a thing called AP, which increases with level ups. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Donald and Goofy, they accompany you throughout the game, except for that one time they ditch you because your mate Riku nicks your Keyblade, so you get accompanied by Beast from Beauty and the Beast briefly. You can't make this shit up. Oh, that actually reminds me, the Disney Worlds. Can't forget about them. They're bloody integral to Kingdom Hearts games. And in Kingdom Hearts 1, they're alright. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of them because I'm not huge on the Disney films they're based off of. I think the only two that are from films that I enjoyed as a kid are the Olympus Coliseum from Hercules and The Nightmare Before Christmas World. To add on to this, all the worlds are fairly empty and you can get lost in them very easily due to the outdated level design and lack of knowing where to go. Deep Jungle from Tarzan is easily the worst offender of this because of how vertical it is. I have genuine PTSD from that world. The story of Kingdom Hearts 1 is probably the best in the series because I mean, everyone knows how infamous the plot of this franchise is. Kingdom Hearts 1 was the first in the series, so it was before shit could get convoluted. And the story really just boils down to the main character Sora trying to save his friends Riku and Kairi after darkness takes over their home. Obviously there's also an overarching plot about a door to darkness and Heartless and shit, but it's easy to understand while you're playing. You don't have to play a Game Boy Advance card game to understand why the sequel starts the way it does. Ooh, foreshadowing. Oh man, fighting through all these games is tiring me out. I think I need to take a breather and let someone else take it from here.
Yo, hi, I'm Bappo, also known as the guy who hates Dying Light 2 as if it's my job. Prey, not this Prey either, and not this Prey 2, but this Prey is a masterpiece. Prey 2017, as everybody likes to call it, is one of Arcane's best immersive sims. Matter of fact, it's the best immersive sim out there. Now, what is an immersive sim? Well, if I try to explain what is an immersive sim, I'm pretty sure Proxidus will block me and will never message me again. In Prey, you play as a character called Morgan Yu, and after finding out that you've been living the same day for over a month, and you weren't actually in a nice apartment but in space, you decide to shake things up. This game heavily relies on the players to actually have some brains in order to get past through some obstacles. Let me give you a quick example. This door is locked by a keycard. Now if this was any other game, then you will have to go find said keycard in order to open the door. But this is an immersive sim, remember. You can either shoot the monitor with a plastic dartboard so you can open the door, or you can invest some skill points into hacking so you can hack the door. Or you can transform into a small object and enter through a small path to open the door from the inside. The possibilities are endless and your problem-solving ability is the limit. There is also a bunch of aliens aboard Talos 1. Some of you might know the funny mimic creatures that transforms into an object and jump scares you the moment you drop your guard, but there is more than just one alien. There is the Weaver that can change a dead body into a phantom, which is also another enemy that has the blink ability from Dishonored. There is another alien, Typhon, called Technopath that can control nearby machines and turn them against you. And there is also a big Typhon called the Nightmare that can spawn in randomly throughout your playthrough, and he's a big fella and a mean one too. What I'm trying to say is that every enemy in this game is great and all of them have a unique trait to them and can be dealt with by many different ways. So if you haven't played Prey 2017, go check it out. It's honestly a masterpiece. Thank you Sam for allowing me to talk about my favorite game, and do drugs kids.
Thank you Bappo. Okay, I'm ready to take on the next game now. I do not like Dead Island 2. I have tried twice to get into this game, but it's just so boring. It feels like an early PS3 era game, and not in the fun way. I'm talking about low budget shovelware tier shit. Oh wow, just like the first Dead Island, I'm glad they kept up tradition. Maybe they were a bit too faithful to the original, because just like it, Dead Island 2 is a miserable experience. All the game really is just killing zombies with a weird ass card system that allows you to perform new moves. I have no idea what it is with games trying these weird card systems for buffs and abilities. They're never good, good. Do you guys remember Back 4 Blood? Another zombie game that had the exact same system? Oh wow, that game did really well, didn't it? This type of shit actually makes me yearn for a skill tree, which says a lot because skill trees are overdone to shit. To give the game some credit, the combat is kind of fun at times, although it's very rare. Most of the weapons feel weirdly floaty and have no impact to them. But when you do find an actual good weapon that packs a punch, it really packs that punch. As morbid as this sounds, the way zombies can break down is really ahead of its time. Dying Light 2 wishes it had this. Then again, Dead Island 2 wishes it was Dying Light in terms of being an actual good game. The world is boring too. I originally thought this was just down to the fact I don't like the LA setting, because LA is a complete and utter shithole. It also reminds me of Seth Rogen. Like I said, my disdain for the world originally boiled down to the area it's based, but then I remembered I really liked the world of Dead Rising 3, which was also based on LA. Then it hit me, and I realized, in a game like Dying Light 2, the world is seamless. You can literally go anywhere, and the parkour really helped with this. In Dead Island 2, the game is set in zones that are connected by loading screens. There isn't any fun traversal to get through these zones. All you can do is run through them, fighting the same boring enemies, with the same boring weapons. Yeah, I don't like Dead Island 2. If you love Dead Island 2, then props to you. I wish I could too. I'm saying 2 a lot. I never want to go into a game with the sole purpose of hating it, but this game was just a miserable experience for me.
Curfew is still in effect. Go back to your homes.
What's going on? Tell us the truth.
Enough lies. No, run, all of you!
I was incredibly surprised by this game. 4 years ago I played A Plague Tale: Innocence and I thought it was a good game. It had an engaging story and some fun gameplay moments, but nothing about it really stood out to me, so I wasn't expecting all too much from Requiem when it came out. In fact, I had no interest in playing it originally. That was until a friend of mine told me that this game will make you feel like shit. And I love myself some miserable games. After finishing it, I can confirm that this game is horrifically sad. Now, I've always been a gameplay focused guy. I've never seen stories in games as the priority because, you know, they're games. They should focus on the gameplay. It's literally in the name. But Requiem is one of the rare cases where I'm completely engrossed with the story and I didn't care that the gameplay was nothing special. In fact, a lot of it just boiled down to running and walking through locations, solving the occasional puzzle, whilst also stealthing your way through areas with patrolling guards. But I didn't mind this because the story was so good. If you've played A Plague Tale: Innocence, you'll know that the story is focused around a plague that's taking over. Swarms of rats are overrunning cities, eating people alive and spreading a disease. The plague and the rats are all related to the main character Amicia's little brother Hugo. The first game does a great job at making you build a connection with these characters. You actually end up feeling like Amicia, wanting to protect Hugo from all of this and understand what's wrong with him. Requiem expands on this, giving us more of an insight into Hugo's condition and why all of this is happening and how he can control the rats. I'm not going to spoil anything, but by the end you're praying that these two make it out alive and have a happy ending, especially Amicia because she goes through a literal fucking hell in this game. When someone posts another tweet of Ellie from The Last of Us asking who went through more pain than her, just quote them with a picture of Amicia because I felt so bad for her by the end. There's even a section that you can actually miss hidden away near the end where she just breaks down crying briefly because of all the shit that's happened. Yet despite all of the crap she has to go through, she is constantly pushing on throughout the game. She's incredibly strong, not just mentally but also physically. She can literally kill a guy by slinging a rock hard enough at their head, so yeah, I wouldn't mess with her.
Everything she did for her country. She sacrificed her life and her honor for her native land. She was a real hero. She was a true patriot.
I'm gonna be honest with you all, I used to be a bit of a Kojima hater. I truly didn't get why everyone loved him so much. Then again, the only two games I had played were Metal Gear Solid 5 and Death Stranding. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say those two are his greatest work. I've always wanted to play the original trilogy of Metal Gear games, and about a year ago they were finally ported to PC, so I bought that shit day one and jumped right into the third one because it's a prequel to all of them. And after finishing it, I was like this.
Oh my god. I get it.
I understand why people love this guy so much, especially if they played this literal masterpiece of a game. Metal Gear Solid 3 is amazing, and aside from some of the outdated controls you need to get used to, it still holds up to this day. Despite its age, they didn't skimp out on anything, especially the immersion. They pushed the PlayStation 2 to its absolute limit. You're traversing a jungle that feels like it actually has a living ecosystem. On your journey through, you're constantly seeing animals minding their own business, and they are integral to the survival mechanics of the game. You have to hunt the animals around you to eat them to keep your health up. And yes, you can eat a snake and you get an achievement for it. The immersion doesn't end there though. If you get injured at any point, the amount of health you can regain is capped until you go out of your way to heal yourself. And it's not as simple as just using a med kit or some shit. You need to go into the menu to gouge a bullet out of yourself with a knife, disinfect the wound and bandage yourself up. You don't see any of this, it's all done through a menu because it's a PS2 game, but it's still cool. It really makes you feel like you're surviving by the skin of your teeth. The deliberate tediousness of healing yourself provokes you to avoid combat as much as possible, focusing more on stealth, and there's a whole unique mechanic around that too. You're able to change what Snake is wearing as well as what face paint he has, and depending on what environment you're in, there's a percentage in the top right that tells you how blended in you are, allowing you to sneak past guards easier. There's so many choices to choose from too, and oh. Now I say you're gonna want to be avoiding combat, and you'd think that the combat would be forced on you for something like a boss fight, but no, Kojima considered that, giving you multiple ways to tackle some of them. You've most definitely heard about the end, right? That old man who is a master with his sniper rifle? His boss fight has you trying to sneak up on him while he's camped out prone with his sniper, but there are two other ways you can actually defeat him. The one you've most definitely heard about is when you stop playing the game for a week. Once you come back, you'll get a unique cutscene showing you that he's died of old age waiting for you to come back. The other way you can defeat him is right after a cutscene. If you're quick enough, you can snipe the back of his head, killing him there and then. The game even rewards you for this too, with achievements. Metal Gear Solid 3 is amazing, and I'm so excited to replay it again when the remake comes out. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're familiar with my backlog series, you know I like to ask what you've been playing recently from your backlog. Let me know in the comments. Is it a game that you enjoyed, or is it one that you couldn't finish because it was a bit shit? I would love to know. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next one.